What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 95, and we're starting today's episode off with a game against Aston Villa here, away at Villa Park, back in the Premier League, on the back of that win against Sevilla in the last game in the last episode. That win guaranteed us going through as group winners to the knockout stages of the Champions League with a game to spare, and coming to this game here against Aston Villa here, we're also on a 6-game win streak as well. So, take it all Villa, away at Villa Park, obviously in the Premier League right now, as I'm recording on Christmas Eve today. Currently not doing too well in the Premier League, not sure how to get on in the Boxing Day fixture, but either way, taking Aston Villa here. We got to a terrible start because Nathaniel Klein, who's had a fantastic season for us this year and has been fantastic ever since he came in, really, does get himself an injury, and though he would last a game, is going to be out for a few days. But the game was still 0-0, and in the 73rd minute, we saw exactly why we paid so much for David Alaba as well. He's our new record signing at Watford, and had he not made that fantastic challenge there, Villa would have probably scored the winning goal of the game to win the game by a goal to nil. The final chance did fall to us. Marco Ryan Tyler struck that free kick from range, but the goalkeeper made the save and turned it behind for a corner, and it was how the game would finish as well. Final score, Villa 0, Watford 0, and that 6-game win streak does not get extended to 7, as we do fail to win here away at Villa Park. So a goalless draw in this one, but once again, worth noting, another clean sheet notched up for us. That's now 9 clean sheets consecutively with Watford, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And in today's episode, before we really get into it, if you will, you just saw the game against Villa there, you'll see this one against Manchester United. I sort of want to discuss something which has been thrown around in the comments of late. You know, I've been reading the comments from the past few episodes. Obviously, I said it's Christmas Eve for me right now. I'm reading the comments for the past few episodes as we just started the new season off, really. I know that a lot of you guys have been, throwing around the same sort of stuff, which is that the game is kind of too easy for me, and the reason why this final season with Watford, you kind of want it to get finished as soon as possible, because obviously, as you wouldn't have seen by now, you would have seen by now, sorry, as you're watching this video, but right now on Christmas Eve, you haven't seen the video yet. The episode where I said that we're going to be leaving come the end of the season, a lot of you guys still want me to get through the season as quickly as possible anyway, a lot of you guys do want me to move to a new team as soon as possible. So as you can see right now with the games, they're sort of getting sped up a little bit. There's less highlights getting shown, and the games sort of go by really quickly. Outside of the games as well, the footage is sped up so we can sort of speed through the season. So many of you guys have been telling me that the game is too easy for me, and that's why this series has not got stale per se, because I'm still hoping to try and get at least 15 to 20,000 views per video, which I think right now I'm still managing to do so. I totally understand that most of you guys aren't finding it stale anyway. It's just that it's repetitive seeing me win a lot of the games and the majority of my games, and I totally understand that. But what I want to say is this, guys, this year's game just quite frankly isn't very good. Yesterday on the 23rd of December, I had a discussion with some of you guys on Twitter regarding the game on YouTube, regarding FIFA 16 being displayed on YouTube, and why so many people, aren't really enjoying the game as much this year. It's because it's slow-paced, it's because it's, really, really uneventful for the most part, and even in the games where there are quite a few chances, it seems like this year actually scoring goals is really, really difficult. And let's be honest, here in football, we like seeing goals get scored. I mean, us goalkeepers don't like it too much, but most people want to see as many goals as possible per game because it's exciting, right? But in this game, FIFA 16, as you saw in this game here against United, we had another goalless draw in this one. Not exactly great. And that's what's happening for the most part this year in FIFA 16. There are a lot of goalless draws, and I would say the most common result I've had in this year's FIFA is 1-0, a 1-0 scoreline. And I think a lot of people have had the same response as me as well. That's the usual scoreline they get as well. And in this year's FIFA, I can play pretty easy defense in this year's FIFA. Like, one thing about me was I used to struggle defensively in FIFA a lot. Last year, if you watched my West Bromwich Albion save, you would know that I conceded many silly goals, and I still do so sometimes in this year's FIFA as well, but not as many. I concede loads of silly goals, but in this year's FIFA, it's pretty easy for me to keep clean sheets. And this game here against Celtic finished 0-0, and it was the 11th consecutive clean sheet for me, I think. Is that right? 9, 10, yeah, 11th consecutive clean sheets, which is just ridiculous. And in this game, Celtic did not bother attacking me whatsoever. They had nothing to play for in this game. They were already going out of the Champions League as the final one in the group stage, and they were guaranteed to finish in 4th place and not even get into 3rd with any kind of result. Yet they just didn't even bother coming out their own half. And this is the problem with this year's FIFA. When people say the game is too easy for me, I'm good at knowing how to beat the system on FIFA. I'm good at knowing how to beat the AI, because obviously I played the game for many years. I played the game for a couple of hours a day minimum. I know how to beat the AI. Obviously, it'll be kind of a surprise if I didn't know by now. But in this year's FIFA, the AI never really adapt to any kind of scenario. They just seem to pass the ball around. We discussed it many times before. The game's been through loads of patches, but they just pass the ball around and don't really bother doing much else other than that. Which means that all you have to do in this year's FIFA is just contain. Just really contain, and don't worry about pushing defenders forward and stuff. And that's why this year we've had such an easy sort of walk to success with Watford. It's crazy to say that, it really is, to say that we sort of walked to our success. You know, in 3 seasons we've won the treble, and in our 4th season in the Premier League we're leading the league, we're through to the Champions League knockout stages, we haven't obviously entered the FA Cup yet, but in the Capital One Cup we're into the round of 16. We're sort of walking to success because it's really, really easy this year. I think the game in general is quite uneventful and quite boring in a lot of ways, but all you really need to do this year is contain and play some pretty basic defense, which is very easy this year because of the fact that the AI don't attack you very much, and just be clinical when going forward. And if you can do that, you're probably going to win quite a few games. So, you know, I have been reading the comments, and I have been reading what you guys have been saying. You know, I do take the comments on board, guys, I really, really do. But my general response, really, to all the comments saying that the game is too easy for me and so on, is that, you know, first and foremost, I'm sorry that you do sort of start to lose interest a little bit. That's never been something which I like to see. You know, I want to try and keep as many people interested in my series as possible. But I want you to look at the match stats screens after the games, which I always show, and I want you to understand that in this year's FIFA, the AI just don't really attack you very much, and the game just becomes really uneventful and really boring. And you know, I totally understand that I could do more to make the series more interesting, more entertaining for you, and I totally understand that when the game does feel too easy for the broadcaster, it can make the audience feel a little bit sort of detached from the series a little bit and start to lose interest. But I don't particularly want to throw games for starters and start losing games intentionally, and also as well, I don't really want to well, I guess I don't really want to stop the series, quite frankly, because I really enjoy it, and I know that a lot of you guys still do as well. But I do take your comments on board, I do understand, guys, but I just want to say, first and foremost, I apologise if the gameplay does become a little bit boring and so on, but really, I think it's mainly due to the game mechanisms, really. But again, I do take your comments on board, and I will be starting a new series, hopefully in January sometime, which will, hopefully, very hopefully, be a real challenge for me, and hope you guys enjoy it as well. But still, in this episode here, you saw the first 3 games. Of course, they were the draws against Aston Villa and United, and then Celtic as well, sorry, the first 4 games even, and then that win against Newcastle as well. Now taking on West Ham here for the 5th game of 6 games in today's episode, so you can definitely tell I'm speeding through the season a little bit now, can't you? The 5th of 6 game in today's episode here, taking on West Ham away at Upton Park in the Capital One Cup quarter final. Now, of course, this season we are going to be aiming for the quadruple after not winning it so far in our first 3 seasons, despite winning a treble last season. But, you know, my hope for this season was to win the quadruple. My aim was to win the quadruple this season. I discussed it right at the start of the season. I thought this would be a great way to make what will possibly be and probably be our final season with Watford a memorable one. But we're not going to be winning the quadruple with Watford this season because, sadly for us, Antonio scored a stoppage time winner for West Ham United, and we lost the game by a goal to nil. So who would have seen this one coming? Our first defeat of the season, and we are out of the Capital One Cup. So there was me talking about the game and how it's too easy for me and so on and so forth, and then we lose for the first time this season. How ironic. But yes, we did lose to West Ham United by a goal to nil. Very, very frustrated about that one because, again, you know, my aim for this season, which will probably be our final one with Watford, was to win the quadruple, but sadly for us, we won't be doing it as West Ham knock us out in the Capital One Cup quarter-finals. So you saw the stats again there, though. I really feel we should have won that game because we played very, very well. We were playing better than West Ham for the most part, but sadly for us, just couldn't hold on to extra time. And, you know, it's really funny, but I was thinking to myself, you know, we should really be looking to win this game in normal time, not in extra time. But as the game was coming to its close, I was thinking, well, let's just get to extra time, assess the situation there, and then go for the winner at some point during the final 30 minutes, in the extra 30 minutes I should say, and then West Ham come and hit us on the counter and score a winning goal. So how about that? We are out of the Capital One Cup in the quarter-final stage, and my hope, my dream, was to leave Watford with a magic quadruple, but it's not going to happen. We've lost in the Capital One Cup quarter-final, and that is a huge, huge shame. But still, for the 6th and final game of today's episode here, we take on Southampton. Ronald Koeman's side coming to take us on to Vicarage Road. We may be out of the Capital One Cup quarter-finals. We are into the Champions League knockout stages, though, into the round of 16 where we'll be taking on Roma, and in the Premier League as well, we are still top of the table by several points. But after having our first loss of the season away at West Ham in the Capital One Cup, I was coming to this game feeling a little bit nervous. You know, taking on Southampton, we're still undefeated in the Premier League. I was feeling a little bit worried coming into this one, not wanting to have back-to-back defeats and lose for the first time in the Premier League this season. But we did open the scoring in the 90th minute through Neymar grabbing a goal from just outside the area, and he should have got his second as well 3 minutes after the restart, and would have done so if it wasn't for a great save by by Fraser Forster, and it was still 1-0. 4 minutes before the end, though, another good chance to make it 2-0 as Ross Barkley gets on the ball, plays down the right side towards Marco Ryan Tyler here, who fakes shots around his man and goes for goal, but it's a good save by Forster, and eventually Southampton get the ball away, only as far as Balotelli goes for goal, though, but once again, it is the giant goalkeeper with another good save, but it was how the game would finish. Final score, Watford 1, Southampton 0, and once again, just another example of what I talked about in this year, in this game, I should say, really, in this year's FIFA. You know, so many games finish with just a goal being scored, just a one goal, and that's it, and this is no exception here. We win another game by a goal to nil, and it is pretty uneventful, it is pretty boring, I do know that, but it is another win for Watford as we remain top of the table. And again, just to completely back up my point throughout this entire episode, look at the match stats coming to the end of the game. There's not really much else I can do other than this when the AI just quite frankly don't bother attacking you. But regardless, guys, thank you for listening to what I had to say in today's episode. I guess I'm just a little bit frustrated because I do want to try and make the series as entertaining as possible. That is my job, but it is very difficult for me due to the fact that this game is the worst FIFA I've ever played, to be honest. But thank you for watching the video regardless. Hope you have enjoyed it. Again, sorry for rambling on, but hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't, please do leave a like, and I'll see you for the next episode of Career Mode very soon.